Hi, Pat here. I got a Pioneer SX1050 stereo. This thing was built in 1976 and it's rated at 120 watts per channel. I'm planning on rebuilding this thing, replacing all the caps and all the known bad transistors and just taking a look at it. The face of it looks good. The side over here is pretty well beat up. The other side's beat up. My antenna's flapping in the breeze back here. So I can turn this thing on. Lights up. And look at that, I'm picking up FM. There ain't no antenna attached. It's even coming in stereo. I got a tape deck hooked up. And the thing works. All the lights seem to work. AM, FM, phonograph 1, phono 2, and auxiliary. So I'm going to open this thing up and see what it looks like on the inside. Here's the top side of the stereo. Nice big transformer, a couple very large caps, main amplifier, the secondary power supply, tuner board up here, and the protection board. And right in here, it's a surge protector and a relay that operates that. Here on the back side, got an equalizer board. It's for your record player. Got the flat amp up here. It's got your volume and your balance on it. Control amplifier for your tone controls. And the main power supply there. I took voltage readings off this power board. All my voltages came out good. But this heatsink was getting warm really with nothing running on it. And when I tried to do the DC offset and the idle current, I couldn't get it. And the relay was clicking on and off. So I got a problem in this power board. So that's the first thing I'm going to start with. I got the power amp to come out. Came out nice and easy. Plenty of room to get to things. And I started off, I took a little deoxant. And I tried to get some inside these pods here. Work them a little bit. Try to clean them up. Then I took a little simple green. Sprayed a little bit in a cup. Scrubbed my board down real good. Got nice and wet. Soaked it down. I just stay away from these pods. I didn't want to get those wet. Then I got a little shop vac and I just sucked it all out of there. I'm going to replace these driver transistors. These caps. And here's the heat sink. Transistors in there. The flip side of that, I'll test those, see if those might be the problem. And after I get those things in, I'm going to put power to it and take a few voltage measurements and see how things look. I replace all the electrolytic caps on this board and every transistor on this board. These big transistors here, a little bit bigger of a package, a little bit heavier duty. So I had to very carefully make the holes just a little bit bigger to get those to fit in. And these posts up here, I just cleaned up a little bit with the wire brush attachment. I got all the transistors mounted back in the heat sink. Use these silicone insulators, which are kind of nice because they'll just peel and stick. And put this thing back together. Plug in, see what happens. I had this thing put back together. Plugged into my dim bulb tester and turned it on, and the light bulb stayed bright. So I shut it off. Look for the problem. This is what I found. These transistors here They remain isolated. All 4 of these are grounding out. Wasn't for that dim bulb tester, this thing would have went up in smoke. I changed a couple of these insulator pads. And maybe I torqued down a little bit too hard in those screws. Right now, nothing is shorting out. And everything is fine. It's just there to the ground. So I'll put it back together and try again. I got this thing back together. Got it plugged into my dim bulb tester. Let's turn it on. Dim bulb goes dim. And I hear 2 clicks. So far so good. After doing the dim bulb test, I plug it straight into the outlet. Turned it on and the thing went pop. Look at right there. You see where it blown through that insulator. I thought these things were supposed to be better than the micas, but I'm really not too sure right now. Now I gotta check that circuit to make sure nothing else went out. I got this thing back together. Got it plugged into my dim bulb tester. Let's turn it on. Dim bulb goes dim. And I hear 2 clicks. So far so good. Now I want to take a look at the preamp side of this receiver. Right here in the service manual, we got the power amp input sensitivity and impedance. It's at 1 volt at 50K. And down here on the auxiliary, it's 150 millivolts on 50K. So I got a couple RCA jacks. I just wired up a 51K resistor across and put my scope across there. I'll also clip a voltmeter across there so I read the voltage output. And here on the auxiliary, I got my function generator plugged in with a voltmeter on there so I can read the output of that. Got all my test equipment hooked up. My function generator is about 1K and it's putting out about 150 millivolts. So watch what happens here when I power this thing on. And those lines shouldn't be jumping around like that. Off. Jumps around a little bit. Let's turn it back on and turn the volume up. And it's volume up all the way. A little bit pointy at the top. My voltmeter's not quite 1 volt. Close enough. Turn down a little bit. Put a square wave through it. Square wave doesn't look bad. It's the bass up and down. And the treble up and down. And the loudness. Okay, well I guess I'll see what recapping and replacing some transistors does. Hopefully straightens everything out of there. Now here's the schematic for the power input to this stereo. You notice right there, there's a 2.2 mega ohm resistor hooked right from the 120 line to chassis ground. Not too sure why that's there, but it is there. Up here is the surge killer circuit. And we go in the service manual. It'll explain that pretty well. And other than that, you just got your big transformer with the different outputs in it. The big bridge rectifier here. Other lower rectifiers. You get your 76 volt, negative 76, 24 volt. This one up here is for the lights. This one here charges the big caps. That's probably why that surge killer is there. What it takes to charge these caps up. Here's the power board. Already got the caps out. It's one of the old caps. It's a new cap to replace it. Same with these, the old, new. Went up a little higher in voltage. That's what they suggested to do. I'm going to clean up this board, get the cap soldered in, plug into my dim bulb test and turn it on and see what happens. I got the power supply board done. Place these caps. Right now I got some probes hooked up to measure the voltage. And if you notice on this cap here, there's a third pin right there. It has no electrical connection, it's just there to keep it more steady. So I put a little hot glue around them just to hold them down a little more stable. I got my voltmeters here. Let's turn this thing on. And I should have positive 76, negative 76, and 24 volt. A little high in the 76, but that's okay. So now to the next step. Here's the other power supply board. Got a loose out of its bracket. Ain't no slack in the wire. I think the only way I'm going to be able to get at this is take this amp board and heat sink out so I can lay this thing over. I removed the power amp board and the heat sink. Let me lay this thing down. A whole lot easier to get to. I already removed all the electrolytic caps, all the transistors, and some Zinger diodes. There they are, all there. I just got to start putting new ones back in. I got the power board back where it belongs. I replaced 15 electrolytics, 13 transistors, and 4 Zener diodes. Now to plug in and see what happens. The power supply board came out real good. Got all the right voltages across all these pins here, and it's looking good. So I'm going to go back to this power amp board. I picked up some new output transistors, a little bit heftier. They'll handle 250 watts. Got some new pods. Hopefully my adjustments come out better. And there's a couple diodes I'm going to replace in there. So, next step, hopefully get this thing working right. I installed the new pots. These 2 diodes down here are new. Put the new output transistors in. And I got everything set up here. Got my function generator, my scope on. And let's power it on. Those lines ain't jumping around like they used to. And second relay clicks. I got good signal. Right now I'm at about 1K. And 6K, good signal. 10K, still good signal. 16K, 20K. So it's getting a good signal all the way through. Let's knock it down a little bit. It's 300 hertz. It's about 100 hertz. I ain't going to go no lower in this range. It's 48 hertz there. If I ain't mistaken, the bass guitar is tuned at 56 hertz, the lowest string. Right there. So I'm getting good signal all the way through. I think I'll stick this amp board back in. Put some music through it, see how it sounds. I got the amp board and the heat sink installed back. And got some speakers hooked up to it. Turn it on here. Second click. And I do get music through it. The radio there, the FM. did let this thing run for a while, and heat sink didn't get that warm, so I think I was successful there. So now I'm going to strip all the knobs off and take this front panel off and start getting at the other boards. I got all the knobs and front panel off. And right up here, it's the flat amp. Got all the caps and transistors off that already. And over here, it's the control amp. I also got all the caps and transistors taken off that. Down inside here, I got these switchboards. There's another one over here. Can't seem to get those out yet. I think my best bet there is I have to remove this board here and probably this board here and let them slide out. So I can clean off these boards and see if I get these loose, because there are components on the other side of this. Plus I want to clean the switches. Ain't no other way to get to them. And see if I get those out. I got the equalizer board loose. This power board down here, I got that loose. And that did let me pull these other boards out. It's a function switch, the AM, FM, and phono. It's a filter amp, a few components in there to change. And the speaker switch. At least it'll let me get at them and get them cleaned up. I got all these boards rebuilt and put back in. Got all the control knobs and the switches cleaned. So right here is the equalizer board. Placed all electrolytics on that. And all the transistors. This big board back here, that's the tuner board. I chose not to take it out because too many wires. I was able to get in from the back and get everything replaced. All the electrolytics. And I still need to order these big caps there. So I'm going to put this thing back together and play some music through it for a while. I got the amp poured all together. Add these pods to it. Let me adjust the DC offset and the idle current. Install the new transistors. Went back to the mica insulators. And I've been running it for a while. I got about 5 volts dropping across my dummy loads. It's about 3 watts. And I got my scope hooked up. But it's running pretty good. So I got in the heat sink. So everything there is looking good. Take a look at the scope here. And my new function generator. And the sine wave's looking good. Switch over to square wave. Square wave's looking good. And try a couple other things. I got my function generators running a sweep. Going from 20 Hertz to 20K. And the sine wave looks good all the way through. I got the big filter caps installed. Originally I had this going from cap to cap, but with the new caps it wouldn't fit, so I took a solid piece of copper wire and I just soldered my leads to it. And right here I got one of the old caps in. They were rated at 22,000 microfarads. This thing's reading just a little under 18,000, so I'm glad I changed them out. I got these LED bulbs off of eBay. And I got one there and one there. and they do look a little brighter than these other two. They do claim these things to last forever. And there's the old one. It's probably 40 years old, maybe. Who knows? Here it is, all put back together. Front looks real good. It's nice and clean. Put new veneer on the sides. They look good. Back here, antenna mount ain't the original, but I found one that'll work. There's the other side here. Put veneer on that. And there's the top. And take in the other room, hook up, and let it play a while. I've been letting this thing play for a few hours. Right now I'm on FM.
And terrain likely. The high Wednesday at 56.
And he's picking up FM good.
Great seats are still available. Purchase your tickets.
On AM.
To your home. You get free shipping, free insurance, and no professional management fee.
Picking up AM. I got a record playing right now. Turntable sounds good. I got tape deck hooked up.
I think about you day and night. It's only right.
Thing sounds real good and came out real nice. I take the cover off here. Take a look at the inside. And you shut the power off. It's not running that hot at all. I did put a little extra heat sink in right there on that one there, just to help it out a little bit. I thought it was getting just a little bit too warm. Other than that, this thing came out good. Thanks for watching.